5 passengers aboard the Titan submersible, which has been lost at sea. They went out on Sunday to go to the wreckage of the Titanic. It is now several days later, and the 5 souls on board scheduled to run out of oxygen this morning at 7:08. Obviously, we are past that time, and we have been holding on to hope the entire time. I think that was giving us hope. Some sounds that were happening every 30 minutes, like 30-minute intervals from the depths of the ocean. This is, I believe, well, actually, let me just talk a little bit first about a retired Navy captain, and we heard from him just the other day, but talking about what could be going on with the passengers right now aboard the Titan.
They're breathing in the oxygen, and so the oxygen levels are going down. They're bleeding it in from the scuba tanks, but they're also exhaling carbon dioxide. So it's a poison. And so what's happening is by now they're starting to get headaches, you get nausea, you start to get confused, and eventually you poison yourself. So you want to remain calm, breathe slowly, relax, don't use any air.
Easier said than done, and it just seems unimaginable to be in that situation.
Knowing that you're stuck in the ocean.
Yeah.
And you're bolted in.
And you have been for days and days, and
no communication with anybody.
None. And if they are still alive, I mean, I think that we've all been holding on to hope, especially when we heard there was a report that, if they were inside one of the safety protocols, I believe that maybe they learned when they got into the vessel, these 5 souls on board the Titan, the missing submersible since Sunday, went down to the Titanic wreckage, was that if they banged on the inside of the vessel, that perhaps sonar would be able to pick up where they are and maybe find their location, right? And so we have been hearing that there's been banging from the depths of the ocean. We actually have a little bit of audio, real audio of what that sounds like.
It's haunting.
Isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And there was a guy, people call him Dr. G, but he went down in 2000 on like a Russian submersible, and they were going down to see the wreckage of the Titanic. So 3 years ago, and they got stuck in the Titanic's propeller.
Wow,
it's an insane story. And he said that's exactly what they would have done because they were going over options that at some point, because sound does travel so well underwater, that eventually all else fails. And they actually had an escape hatch, but they're under 12,000, 13,000 feet, they would immediately die.
Well, and the pressure of trying to
they wouldn't
get
even
that,
open it. Yeah, but if they got to the surface, they could open it. But that's what they would have done. It's
banging.
Knocked.
Yeah,
he's a scientist who said that would have knocked, because you hope you have a chance at that point. And they were stuck, and they had the command ship right above them. So they knew that they had some chance. But luckily, the pilot of that submersible was able to get free from the propeller, and they went back up, and they lived to tell the story. But man, it's a crazy story.
That's incredibly lucky. And one of the scariest parts is that immediately, they were an hour and 45 minutes, the Titan, into their voyage down to the wreckage of the Titanic, when all signal was lost.
Yes.
And they never picked signal back up. No communication whatsoever.
And maybe we'll find out later, but apparently what we've heard so far, they Ocean Gate waited like 8 to 9 hours before they contacted the Coast Guard after losing contact.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like,
Maybe they were holding on to hope that it was going to come back.
Yeah. The expedition's 12 hours, could be, or up to 12 hours. So maybe they thought, well, maybe everything's okay, but
yeah, well,
2020,
and sonar expert, his name is Jeff Carson. He's the professor emeritus of Earth and Environmental Sciences at Syracuse University. Explains the underwater banging, because we really were putting a lot of hope and a lot of emphasis on thinking maybe they're the ones that are making this noise. But he explains why he believes it is just wishful thinking.
If you go down in a submarine, the light disappears at about 500 meters depth. So down where the bottom of the ocean there where the Titanic is, it is utterly dark, silent, just above freezing. There's no weather, there's no current, there's no wind, there's no nothing. It is just the most utterly stagnant place you can imagine. That's why it's not feasible to just take one of these remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, down there and look around and find it. It is literally groping in the dark. So we rely utterly on sound to find the submarine. This sound is bounced off objects. The problem is that even relatively small objects, sometimes they make reflect a lot of sound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and speaking,
the fact that you could this is for the sake of argument.
Yeah.
The fact that you can bang on the side of a boat or a submersible 2.5 miles under the ocean and it can be picked up by planes in the sky or the ROVs is shocking to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The technology. Well, and it was just yesterday at around 6 o'clock in the evening when France donated or let us borrow the Victor 6000.
Mm-hmm.
And the Victor 6000 is a robot that's capable of diving 20,000 feet below sea level right to the area. It would have been able to go right to where the Titan was supposed to be. And it also came with, the robot has what they're calling like a retractable arm, basically
like a tow mechanism.
Yeah, with a hook at the very bottom that would be able to pull the Titan up if it was able to find it. So far, the Victor 6000 has not found it.
The concerning part is
too.
Yeah.
The banging. There's a lot of metal down there from the Titanic itself, right? So if anything is just banging back and forth in the water
or falling off.
Yeah,
falling
it was
debris.
every 30 minutes. I mean, it could be like just a gate that or some kind of metal object that keeps just banging into it at once. I don't know.
Sure, or sea life bumping into things, or if there are, I know there are, but the sea life that's feeding in that area, or eat something that then fall. We don't know. It could
they
be
do
anything.
say it's a needle in a haystack, even with that light, right?
Right.
But the crazy part is if we find out later that we were just this close to rescuing.
I know.
It's just heartbreaking.
I know. Well, Jeff Carson, the man we were just listening to, goes on to talk about the wishful thinking of some of the sounds.
And with this debris field, there's just a lot of junk down there that's reflecting. Best thing can happen is if the sounds persist, at least they can locate the source of that sound. Yeah, by that triangulation method. The banging, I have to say, I hear the Coast Guard guys talking about this. I wonder how much of this is just wishful thinking, and is it really banging or just some unidentified sound? I think is a more accurate description right now, but they have to follow up on it. It's the best lead right now. One of the things they absolutely can do is get to the source of the sound.
So we eventually we'll find out where it came from.
Absolutely, and
even if it stopped banging, like if it just stops. Let's say it's them and they died and they stopped banging.
Well, I don't
the way
know.
He, as a sonar expert, he says they can, I guess, through the data, figure out like where it exactly came from, and
Okay.
I figure now that they've heard it, they would be able to pinpoint it. Just takes how long it takes to get to it.
To it, yeah. Well, and the Coast Guard, I know that Jeff Carson, the man we were just listening to, referred to the Coast Guard talking about the banging sounds, but this is what the Coast Guard was saying about those noises.
So a couple things. One, I think when you're in the middle of a search and rescue case, you always have hope. That's why we're doing what we do. With respect to the noises specifically, we don't know what they are, to be frank with you.
A little side note, it kind of sounds like Tom Hanks to me. I don't know. It's a little distracting.
I have
but
to picture him.
The P3 detected noises. That's why they're up there. That's why they're doing what they're doing. That's why they put sonar buoys in the water. The good news is, what I can tell you is we're searching in the area where the noises were detected, and we'll continue to do so. And we hope that when we're able to get additional ROVs, which will be there in the morning, the intent will be to continue to search in those areas where the noises were detected, and if they're continuing to be detected, and then put additional ROVs down in the last known position where the search was originally taking place.
And here's the banging sounds if you missed it from the Titan.
Eerie.
It does sound like distinct banging,
It does.
separated
Yes.
like you're purposely trying to put a signal out.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like like some sort of
That
crashing or
does
whatever.
sound
Yeah.
like it's like human made.
Well, Jason, I don't know if you might have stepped out for a second, but there was a guy that went down a submersible, a scientist, in 2000 with a Russian submersible, and they got stuck in the Titanic's propeller.
Oh, I heard about this.
Man.
Yeah, and they said that's exactly what they were going to do if they were still stuck. Was they were taught to like bang on the side of the submersible. That's like your last hope.
Oh,
That's
if the oxygen runs out and we miss them by a short period of time, that's going to be such.
It's a travesty.
Yeah.
It really is.
Well, oxygen was projected to run out at 7:08 this morning, our time, and the latest up to date is that the deepwater robots, all of the I forget how much. Do we have? I forget the number that we have on location right now, but they have finally reached the seafloor.
Oh, they have.
And they just, I mean, that's like up to the minute breaking news that they have just reached the seafloor and they're looking.
Yeah,
there hasn't been any update other than that.
I was looking. I did a little deep dive in the Titanic, unfortunately, yesterday.
That was a bad pun. It's okay.
Huh?
That was a pun.
Oh,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, it is.
Deep
It
dive.
is a deep
yeah.
dive. But
Mhm.
they have these. They found the Titanic in 1985. They finally found the wreckage in 1985, and since then they've been doing a lot of investigations or research, I should say, with these robots that go down and can swim around it and get photos and whatnot. They just usually don't have people on them, and so they have the equipment, and we have the equipment to go down there, no problem. Not necessarily with people on it. I mean, that would be more of a sub, but we have all this equipment right now. This is not new technology. We've had it since at least before 1985. It had been made, and that's when they found it. They did some research, and they found it, and they took photos and everything.
Well, then James Cameron, who
I was just going to say that. Yeah,
obviously did the movie Titanic. He's obsessed with that, and also the deep ocean. He pretty much developed and spent a lot of his own money developing a submersible. It's super high tech, and he's been down there
30 times.
Yeah,
30.
He's been down. He's been
to
down
Titanic. Yeah,
himself.
Yes.
himself.
So what's the difference between?
And he did it like 9 years ago, the first time.
Yeah.
What's the difference between what he was on than this particular? Why would there be a difference if he's been there not 9 times down there?
No, he's been 30 times,
30 times.
down.
30 times by the Titanic.
More, I think more than 30 times. James Cameron himself,
Or the robot with the pictures.
The stories that we're reading say he has been.
He
there.
did a whole movie or documentary about this whole thing,
Yeah.
and they're showing him going in the vessel. There's video of him in the vessel.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of space, it's just him.
But this is a completely
way
different
high
vessel.
tech. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
totally different. I mean, the better technology, huge cameras on it, lights.
Oh well, maybe
still risky. I mean, still risky, and also certified by this. There's a certification company that certifies submersibles, and there's 12 submersibles that can go to this depth that are in operation today, and the only one to not go through the certification process is the Ocean Gate.
Which is the
a
Titan.
typical submarine. A lot of our submarines can at least go down that far.
Yes.
But is it? I guess submarines can't go and explore because they're too big around it.
Oh yeah, I guess around the Titanic maybe it's
Maybe,
it'd be hard to navigate.
And could maybe bump into the wreckage and then ruin it, or well, I guess if you're stuck in the propeller, that could happen too. But
Right.
that's not the point. Yeah.
Well, and then I don't know if it's called challenge, but there's some area of the ocean. It's the deepest part of the ocean in the world, and I think it's 30,000 feet down. And there's people who've done that
Wow.
successfully in
Yeah,
submersibles.
they said that it was interesting that one of the submersibles or submarines that we have, it covers 98% of the ocean floor. So it must be not much more than 30,000 because we can cover 98% of it. That's the farthest it goes down. That's what I read. Could be wrong.
And I think they said only like 60% of the ocean has been mapped.
I'm sure.
Which is, you think about, I mean, it's the most vast thing. I think
2/3 of the Earth, right?
That's been the craziest part, I think. And Jared and I were talking about this a little bit. Is that's the craziest part about being obsessed with following the journey of this story is that people, and of course, this is what we do. But there's like, well, just go down and find them.
Right.
No,
Yeah,
we
it's
cannot.
like it's almost impossible.
You go down 5 minutes into the ocean, and all of a sudden there is no light. There is only sounds. You can't see your hand in front of your face.
Right.
Complete darkness, complete stillness, and then of course we have people who say, "Well, how hard could it be?"
Well, Katie, Katie made a good point off the air about being at the ocean and you're like wading ankle deep and your sunglasses fall into the water.
You never find them again.
Yeah.
How quickly the pull
Or
and the
even
pull
a
and the push.
lake. I get
Yes.
nervous over a little
Yes.
small lake. I'm like,
Mhm.
make sure you have your life vest on because if you knock yourself out,
Right.
I'll never find you.
No.
And it's a lake. We're talking like nothing. It's like a
A
pebble.
drop.
It's
Yeah.
nothing
Right.
compared to the world.
Yeah.
And
Well-
one thing, and look, I'm guilty of having terrible judgment when it comes to joking around.
Oh, well, yeah.
But man,
It is, yeah.
And I know people probably don't mean anything by it, but man, Facebook is full, and Instagram and other of memes of people making fun of these people that are going to die.
Yeah, I don't like it.
It's like
Cesspool.
it seems like a very poor form.
It's a
I mean,
cesspool.
at least wait a week or two.
I mean, if you're going to do it,
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I'm
there's
just saying
certain
it's
things.
going to happen,
It's
right?
gonna
But
happen.
right
Yeah.
now is in the middle of these people's, and this kid, I swear, this stepson of this billionaire who's going to the Blink-182 concerts and posing and basically saying he's single and all this other stuff. And now Cardi B, I think, got involved. Did you hear about that?
Yes, she basically called him out for she couldn't believe that he was doing it, and then he
gotta
clapped
change
back.
that pop quiz question.
Well, he clapped back at it, and then
Go change the question.
he also now is being, how the internet does is that they jump on and people become villains, and then they say, oh, well, you want to know what else he's doing? He's not only planning to go to this concert, but he's also hitting on Instagram models
And
and
OnlyFans models.
and OnlyFans models, and so it's just like,
We do have audio of Cardi B talking about
Good.
going off on
Yeah,
him.
since we can't use it
Yeah.
later.
The third pop
well, it's
quiz.
very topical.
No, it's
It is
topical.
very
It's fine.
topical.
And
It
normally
is.
pop quiz would already be done.
That's
so.
true.
Yeah, we were running a little bit behind.
I would never know that was a question.
Yeah.
In a million
Neither.
years.
No, it's a.
We never know.
You're on it. You're on the pop culture.
Okay, so one of the billionaires that's missing on the water from that submarine. One of the billionaires, their stepson, is at a concert, right? At a Blink-182 concert, and people is like, well, what is he supposed to do? Be sad at the house? Is he supposed to go look for himself? Yes. You're supposed to be at the house sad. You're supposed to be crying for me. You're supposed to be right next to the phone waiting to hear any updates about me. You're supposed to be counseling your mom and shit. Like, isn't it sad that you a whole billionaire and nobody gives a about you? Like you missing and mother ready to shake at concert. That's crazy. I'd rather be broke. I'd rather be broke than and poor, but knowing that I'm loved.
Well, she's assuming a lot that no one loves this billionaire.
Yeah.
Well, this is in poor form, in my opinion, that the son is at the
I
concert. I
agree.
think he took a photo by the merchandise tent.
Yeah, in front of the Blink-182.
Yeah.
No, yeah, and it's maybe they're not close. I don't know. But then
We don't know.
But Cardi B poor form too because she's assuming the billionaire that clearly no one loves him because the stepson is at this concert.
Well, she also turns it into herself, saying me. But I think she's just making an example, like if your own son doesn't love you, type thing.
Stepson, yeah.
Or stepson.
Well, we don't know. I mean, we don't know if they were close. I'm not defending him. I also happen to think it's poor form. I don't
He says
understand,
that.
but
What is he saying?
that it calms or it helps him grieve or stress.
Blink-182's music helps him.
He replied to Cardi's video on Twitter, and he said, "What a POS trash celebrity, Cardi B, trying to get clout off me and my family's suffering. I went to a Blink-182 concert for coping rather than sitting at home and watching the news. Shame on you, Cardi. Get some class." And he tweeted at her again saying, "Cardi B, we know all your latest releases are trash, but your career is this desperate for attention now?" Question with a bunch of question marks. And Cardi replied to him saying, "The point was that the whole world is praying for these people in the submarine, and you're this man's son shaking D-word for girls on OnlyFans and going to Blink-182 concerts. You were looking for clout all along. No one knew who you were until you said that he was your stepdad. This is why people hate you, spoiled brat billionaires. You are so desensitized."
She has a point.
But the guy's
I don't hate what she said.
Yeah.
I don't.
I still think it's poor form because
It's a poor form on both.
Yes.
But
I mean,
to
they're
say
both fighting
That's why
on.
people hate spoiled brat. Like,
Well,
stepdad's,
that's the
stepdad's
part.
probably dead.
It's the same as him calling all of her new releases trash. I
Well,
mean, they're
he
both
didn't
going
start
low.
it. He didn't start it.
No, he
and
didn't.
He's not a celebrity. He's just
He
some.
looks like he's looking for attention, though.
Yeah.
He
By
took a picture.
responding and all that. And yes,
Yeah.
I do.
Well,
It sounds
there's
like
a
Yeah.
video. Somebody made a video. Cardi B makes a video of you, Jason, and is saying that I can't believe what you're doing. Yeah, and everyone's telling you, can you believe?
I
Cardi-"
wouldn't be at the Blink-182 concert posting photos, and also
No.
there is something about the OnlyFans that he's doing too.
That's what they're
Yeah.
saying. Yeah, that
Yeah.
he's hitting on OnlyFans and Instagram models. And just to
I could pause for a day or two.
yeah. Well, if I were Blink-182, I'd be like, dude, we'll give you a ticket some other time.
You come to any concert
Any
you
concert
want.
you want,
right.
but I guess they had already happened. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah, and and again, he's not famous, so no one knew until.
I don't hate what she said.
Me neither.
I don't.
I do. I hate
yeah,
what she said.
I don't.
The thing I like
But-
about Cardi B, she's like the female O.J. Simpson. She comments on,
On
everything
everything.
that happens.
She does. She's up in it.
does.
She
Yeah.
does. I just want to bring you, I'm not calling this a fun fact, but I found it to be very interesting. The wife of the CEO of OceanGate, of the Titan, who was piloting the missing Titanic tourist submersible when it lost all communication is a descendant of a wealthy New York couple who drowned on the Titanic.
Oh, really?
Gosh.
Yes, and it was her great-great-grandparents. Their names were Isidore and Ida. They died in the 1912 sinking of the Titanic. And in the film Titanic, they were depicted as the couple lying on the bed, the older couple who held on to each other.
Really?
Yes.
So maybe that's part of the fascination that he has
Absolutely.
with the Titanic.
Yes, I think that they are a couple that have a very deep interest and obsession and fascination with the Titanic, and it just and maybe because of that, that her family was on it. I don't know, but he also, her great great grandfather, they were offered a seat on the lifeboats because she was a woman, and he was also a well-known former congressman and the co-owner of Macy's department store.
And they declined.
But they declined.
Wow.
That's a true. That's there's a lot. The word courage gets thrown around a lot these days with people who really don't have any. That's true
That
courage.
was-
and
yeah.
valor and wow.
I thought it was a very beautiful, tragic story.
Yeah, and I guess if you're not dying doing what you love, but I mean, if you're obsessed with the Titanic, it's kind of in a way like a morbid art in a way. It's there's a odd irony to it that you're one of the biggest tragedies that ever happened in the ocean, and now this is
It's
happening
happening to you.
as you're going to try to see this the Titanic. It's very interesting.